You're listening to Loving BDSM Podcast, episode 35. Hey everybody, Kayla Lords here with OMG, guess who? John Brownstone! Yay! Today, we're talking about something that I think is on a lot of people's mind right now, and I've been reached out to about it several times. What you should do when your needs aren't being met in your DS relationship. Welcome to the Loving BDSM Podcast. If this is your first time listening, glad to have you. If you're back for another week, welcome back. Loving BDSM is produced every Friday for your kinky pleasure and education, and show notes are found at kaylalords.com. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. If you love what you hear, we'd love a good review on iTunes to help other kinksters find us. You can follow me on Twitter at Kayla Lords or stalk John Brownstone at southernsirsplace.com. All links are in the show notes. So, I get to do something that I said I was going to do last week, but I actually get to do it, because it actually happened. Last week during my shameless begging and plea for help buying a new professional quality microphone, I promised that I would give shoutouts to anybody who actually supported the endeavor and pledged any amount of money, and some of y'all actually did, and oh my gosh. So I'm only doing 2 today. It's not a huge number right now, but I don't want to clog up the whole show with all of my thank yous. But just know that if you have pledged, you really do have my eternal gratitude, and you will hear your name very soon. If you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about, go check out episode 34. Even if you don't want to listen to it, the transcript is there so you could read it. And if you do want to support the show and just went, oops, I forgot about that, the link to my Patreon page will be in the show notes, so you can do that too. So the first thank you I want to give is like huge. It goes out to Xander, who is someone I actually know in actual real life. We've been at Munches together. We've stood outside the club at midnight and bullshitted while everybody smoked, not me, but everybody else. We've watched each other scene. We have, I believe, scened at the same time, different doms, but like at the same time. I even know exactly what makes his legs shake a certain way when his dominant flogs him. So, like, we know one another, okay? We might not know each other's favorite color, like mine's not obvious, but you know what I mean. But when you scene right next to somebody, you kind of know them. So, I don't really expect any of y'all to email or respond or do things when I say, hey, you can do this. So I really don't expect it from somebody who knows me and has seen my face and has, watched me eat French fries and seen me get uncomfortable and whatever. So for Xander to do it, that was huge. And then he went above and beyond because Patreon acted all weird with him. And he emailed me directly, and he supported the podcast through PayPal. And yes, for anybody who cares, that is an option. You have to email me directly about that one. I'm not putting out my PayPal like that. But so I just want to say thank you to Xander, and I really hope that John Brownstone and I can either get to a munch or the club soon so that we can hang out again because it's been too long, and so that we can thank you in person. There will be lots of hugs, and I will probably squeal, so just be prepared. Putting that out there. My next shout out goes, I know, right? Me, never. My next shout out goes to somebody who I give shout outs to all the time because anybody who wants me to say the word fuck is sort of high on my list of people. Ruth K pledged in Patreon, and yay for that, and oh my gosh, and she was so sweet. She said, I've been meaning to do it, but this was sort of the impetus. Well, that's awesome, just the fact that you ever even thought you would. And your shout out, we know what your shout out is. I will say it for you. Fuck, fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck. Anybody else who enjoys that, that's just a freebie for you. And the cool thing is that Ruth K is somebody I'm going to actually meet in real life in a few short weeks. So, yay! Thank you, Ruth. Now, to everybody else who's already pledged on Patreon, like I said, I will totally do your shout-outs next episode. If you've been thinking about it and you're like, what? No, really, we're like halfway to getting the mic. Yeah. Daddy's done the research. I think, know exactly which one.
Yep.
He's done the price shopping, so it's less than I thought it would be. Not by much, but it's like $150 to $175 instead of the $200 to $300 that I was looking at, which is why I have my IT department take care of these things for me. And we're like halfway there.
It's good to have a personal IT department.
It is good. I travel nowhere without my personal IT department. So all that's really going on, and any help you can give will be really, really awesome. We're kind of like thinking after the first of the month we'll be able to do something. So in the next few episodes, it could get really good. So I'm tired of talking about that. I feel like I've been spending too much time on that one. Let's actually get into today's show, and it's all about our needs. We all have needs: submissive, dominant, top, bottom, switch, whatever. Everybody's got needs. And anybody who thinks that we're going to talk about, your needs have to always be met every moment of the day, no, that's probably not what we're going to talk about. Because sometimes our needs aren't being met, and we have to make hard decisions about how we're going to respond to that. And sometimes our needs can't be met because of whatever is going on in our partner's life, and we've got to figure out how we're going to deal with that. So, as we usually do when we're here together, and I'm so glad we're here together, we're going to wing it, and it's pretty much unscripted from like this point on.
Yep.
I don't know where this is going to go. I will probably interrupt a lot, because that's what I do. So, here we go. Are you ready, Daddy?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Ready as I'm going to be.
Well, okay, y'all heard it, as ready as he's gonna be. So let me tell you what got me thinking about this being a topic, and it's two separate things. I write for Submissive Guide periodically, a couple times a month, and I helped answer a question that came through ages ago. And the person, I felt kind of bad for her, but I sort of felt really bad for her daddy Dom too, because she wrote in and said, well, my daddy Dom has experienced a death in his family, and he's dealing with that, and he's told me he can't give me what I need, and I'm not happy. Now, I think there's some people out there who would have thought that my first reaction would be like, bitch, please, but that is not what I did, because I sort of I wanted to assume that there was a conversation, and maybe there's not quite a huge understanding of dealing with grief, and so there's that side of things when, hello, the daddy Dom experienced a death in their family, which John Brownstone knows all about.
All too well.
And no, it's a little bit hard to be sort of in dominant mode at a time like that. On the flip side of that, I got an email from a listener and a reader, and hey, if you're listening, I won't say who, because, anonymity, all that, but hey, who said, so here's the deal. I've talked to my dominant, and I've said that, I need more than what I'm getting, and they've basically said, well, this is all you're getting, and you should be happy with that, and they're not consistent. Wow. I know, right? And they're not consistent, and they're not always getting back to her, and, and she just has a yucky feeling. Her needs aren't being met, and she doesn't feel good in this relationship. And so, that's two sides of a similar issue, so I thought, okay, we need to talk about this.
Sure.
So which one do you want to go with first? The really hyper-personal one?
Yeah, let's get that one out of the way.
So a little bit of backstory, and I'll link to it if you want to see my original answer. Her dominance child, I don't know the age, and I don't know how long ago, but their child had died, okay, at some point, and so they were grieving, rightfully so, and
regardless of age, something like that is
thank you. Any death in any family is awful.
Absolutely.
As a mother, I cannot imagine it being my child. I don't even want to think about that. We'll just start crying ugly tears right here. So, without having all the information, I don't know how long ago it had been. I don't know what kind of conversations they'd had, and I said all that. Okay, there's no way I can give you a full answer because I don't have all the details, and even if I did have all the details, there's still something I could get wrong. But my advice was, okay, first of all, you need to give him time to grieve.
Absolutely. Everybody's different.
And everybody's different. It's going to take the amount of time that it takes, and whether it's grief like that or anything stressful, there are times a dominant doesn't feel quite so dominant, right? You can attest to that.
Absolutely.
I remember when Daddy was going through it last summer when his sister died, even before she died, when she was just sick, he sometimes would look at me and I would see in his face the last thing he wanted to do was make a decision. The last thing he wanted to do was be responsible for me.
Well, one thing you have to understand, and I don't know what this other person's situation, for me, I was my sister's caregiver.
It's true.
It wasn't that she just died suddenly, that unexpected. She had cancer. She was diagnosed stage 4. 14 months prior. And, the way things kind of happened, I became her caregiver, and, you jumped in and helped.
Sure.
But, regardless of how that plays out, it's not easy.
No, and it's, I can't say especially in the aftermath. It's not easy during. It's not easy after. Nothing about it is easy. But they're in a situation like a DS relationship. If it's happening to you as a dom, or it is happening to your dom, I would like for us to sort of reiterate, based on our own experience, that there is no shame in having that moment where you're like, I cannot be in charge of anything. I cannot be responsible for anything. Please do not ask me anything. And every day was a little bit different. He would come home some days and I'd say, what would you like to drink with dinner? And he'd give me this look like, you want me to decide that? And I would know if he couldn't handle that, then the last thing I was going to do that day was bring him any of my submissive baby girl issues, okay? Now, on the other hand, there were days where he felt so out of control with everything going on, and please, I interrupt him. He has all the right in the world to interrupt me if I'm wrong. That what he needed was to be able to take control of something.
Right.
And I kept sort of waving my hand going, hey, I'm over here. You can take control if, I'm here to be in control.
And she did. And at this point in time of the game, I'm not going to make, any bones about it. I'm not going to go in a whole lot of depth, but, there was a lot of dysfunction. There is a lot of dysfunction in one side of my family, which did not lend itself to...
it made a stressful situation worse.
Right.
But bottom line, though... oh, he gave me the nod that I'm allowed to talk. The point I want to make is that his needs came first, and his needs could not incorporate taking care of me in some of those moments. So I had to put, now for us, I'm a baby girl and a submissive. I do consider those two separate parts of who I am. They intermingle very well, but they're two separate parts. The baby girl wants to be taken care of. The submissive wants to serve and take care of him. Baby girl had to sit back. Baby girl had to go on vacation somewhere. Okay, there was no room for a pouty, whiny, even giggly baby girl. So as a submissive, I have my own needs. I need spankings, and I need discipline, and I need rules, and I need structure. Yes. But for that time period, my needs were much less important than his needs. And his needs were to not really be needed so much. He needed to be taken care of.
And what helped me a lot through that was, we have certain protocols and rituals in our relationship. In the evening, you bring me my cup of coffee. At a certain point in the evening, you pull down the bed. You kneel before bed. And that helped tremendously, because her submissive side never faltered in her tasks. And through all that chaos,
that's a good word for it.
That's the best way to explain it, to put it. But through all that chaotic time, that gave, when I came home at night, that gave me a sense of normalcy. Okay, that was the one thing I could count on.
And I think that's important. And we're talking about extremes here. A death in the family, that's a huge deal. But it could be a lost job. It could be a broken down car and you can't get a new one tomorrow. It could be anything that throws your world off, even for a short amount of time.
Life is life. DS is a wonderful thing, and it gives, a relationship a good foundation to build on. And
I think, and maybe that's part of it, and that was the thing that I could not glean from that particular question that I was asked to answer was, is this a long-term loving relationship, or is that the goal that you want to build towards, or is this more of a casual relationship where, you're friends, you enjoy one another, but you might be seeing other people, you might have whatever it may be, because I would imagine that your response might be a little different. Now, I would say as a decent human being, you try and take care of a person who has taken care of you. I mean, I just think that should be, whatever. But when you're looking at it in terms of, what kind of relationship do we have and what is our responsibility to one another? Once you get past the basic human decency, that responsibility we should all have for our fellow man,
Right.
You know, I could see where it would be a question you have to think to yourself, okay, this person's going through something tremendous. Do I have the mental and emotional capacity to give them what they need? And I think that, you know, sometimes if you're being honest with yourself, you go, oh, no, I can't really do that. And sometimes we think, yes, I can do that, and we get in the middle of it, and it's overwhelming because maybe we don't have those strong feelings for the other person, and we're like, oh my God, I'm in the middle of a shitstorm here. But for anybody that is saying to themselves, no, this is somebody I care a great deal for. It doesn't matter if you're married or not. It doesn't matter if you're living together or not. You know, from a submissive standpoint, sometimes our needs do have to take a back seat, because what we need to do is serve our dominant, and sometimes serving our dominant comes in the form of taking care of them. Now, I will say what made that work, other than the fact that I have gone through deaths like that in my family. Terminal illness is sort of like, you know, it sort of crops back up every few years in my family. My grandparents died of cancer. My father died of ALS. I was there for that one, helped make the decision to take him off life support kind of thing. I mean, you know, this was not new to me, so I was probably the best person to support Daddy in this one. But what our glue for us later was, once he came out of that fog, and once he came back to a more normal self after she died, after the funeral, after he had processed part of that initial grief and, you know, dealt with that initial pain, he turned to me, and one, he thanked me for what I'd done, which he didn't need to, but he did. And two, he said, okay, what do you need? You know, I know you've been neglected over these past few months. I know I haven't given you what you need. Here, let me give you some of what you need. And I think that's what makes it easier to put your needs to the side. When you know that once they can, they will give you what you need.
And what helped pull me back, too, a little bit, too, was, you know, there was a point there after that one evening we did go to the club.
Oh, yeah. Well, and Master Michelle, God love her, she knew you needed that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good night too.
Yeah.
That was an intense night, but that was one of those things he couldn't have done 6 weeks prior, 2 months prior.
No.
He was actually sort of afraid to do some of that stuff with me because he was worried he would lose control. And I'm over here, a little Miss Submissive, going, no, it's okay. I'll say for it. I'll do whatever. You do what you need to do. And he kept saying, nope. He pulled back, and I didn't like it at the time. I respect it, of course. I always respect that, and I understand where he's coming from. But when he finally did let go, that was an intense night.
It was an intense night. It was
lots of screaming that night.
Yes, it was a good. Trying to think of the word catharsis.
Catharsis. That's what I was thinking.
You know, it kind of cleansed me a little bit. And that really brought me back. So
then that would be what I would, if you have, and I don't mean you have to go out to a club if you don't have a club that you belong to, but when you get through whatever that thing is, and we're focusing on dominance, and we're going to need to flip this a little bit, because submissives, we have our issues too, but
sure.
You know, when you get a little bit back to yourself and you feel a little bit more normal, and you have enough sense to recognize, wait a moment, I've been in my own little world, and this person has been taking care of me, and some of their kinkier needs are not getting met. And you know, I would recommend it, not necessarily a full scene at a club, but whatever that thing is that you do, that's part of your DS relationship, that's part of your kink, that connects you, that, you know, lets you get out some of the wilder parts of yourself. Definitely find a way, find time and make time to have that kind of moment, because it will be part of your reconnection. I think that's the thing. When one of you
we had to kind of push for that night.
No, we didn't. Master Michelle sent a babysitter over. She made that happen.
That's right too. I forgot about that.
Yep.
She did, didn't she?
She sent a babysitter over.
That's right.
And there's a reason we love our local community. Really good people who we take care of one another, or we try to anyway.
They're family.
Yeah, they're our kinky family.
Yeah.
So here's the thing I'll tell you, submissives. We do have to be careful. For most of us, it's kind of in our nature to want to take care of our dominant. And when they really need us, most of the time, we're going to step up and go, okay, we've got this. It is draining. It is exhausting. It is frustrating. I have the baby girl side, so eventually there was a meltdown. But even as a submissive, before I was in touch with the baby girl part, I mean, we can have our own meltdowns. They come out differently, I guess. Mine, it was total baby girl mode. So I don't think you should be afraid of speaking up that you do have needs, because what's going to happen is while you're taking care of your dominant and your needs aren't being met, you have to take some responsibility for that and go, okay, my needs haven't been met. You seem to be back to yourself a little bit. We need to talk about this, okay? Now, on the other side, and I thankfully, knock on wood, I have not had anything like major, crazy, tragic like Daddy has, but it's going to go on the flip side. There are going to be times, dominance, your needs aren't going to get met, okay? Every time I'm sick, guess who is not fucking me? That particular need is not being met.
Yeah, but on that side, maybe not to the extent like it was for me, but I mean, you've had a few times that you've had to, take off for family. Sure,
my mom had surgery, and I travel for that. My aunt had surgery.
Right.
We're trying to prevent terminal illness in this family, so we're dealing with preventative measures for breast cancer around
Err on
here.
the side of caution.
Err on the side of caution. I am the youngest woman in the family, and I'm the only one with my real boobs. So I wrote a post about that. I'll link to it in the show notes. But so yeah, I've left. I've up and left for up to a week. I've left for a long weekend. He has been a saint and taking care of my kids for me. But yeah, his needs aren't getting met. I'm not there to do my tasks. If he, wants to fuck anybody, well, it's not going to be me if I'm off traveling. So it happens on the other side, and it's not.
But it's that that other side of the coin. She does so much to take care of me. When the time comes, I'm there for her.
And that's in a loving. It's funny. I say this all the time, in a loving DS relationship. And it doesn't have to be romantic love. I mean, I think that's what most of us are thinking of, and that's certainly what we mean. And you could just be best friends, and you happen to be DS. Right. But when you care for the other person, you're there for them. When you deeply, deeply care, I don't care if you're fucking or not. When you deeply care for the other person, you're there for them, and and it's okay to have the expectation that they're going to be there for you. That's kind of how this is supposed to work. We talk a lot about what submissives do for dominance, what submissives do for dominance. Dominants do a lot for submissives. They take on a huge responsibility, or they should. That's part of the job. And so,
Well, just like I pointed out in the last time we were together for a podcast.
In the closet.
In the closet.
In the very hot closet today. I'm kind of hot and sweaty right now. It's not sexy.
Never mind winter. Summer is coming.
Summer is coming. It is Florida.
Yeah.
So, and that weather report was brought to you by.
But that's just like I said that time too. I don't write on my blog anymore. Why? Because I do my part to help baby girl. Take care of her, achieving her career goals.
And here's what my submissive brain hears. Yeah. Oh my God, I keep him from writing on his blog. I'm the most selfish human being ever. I know that's not what you mean.
Not what I mean.
I know that's not what you mean, but the submissives out there know what I'm talking about. They all heard it too.
Plus I've taken on my woodworking.
I know. So. If you would make some paddles and get those, we could be. His paddles are good, y'all. Anyway, so there's that kind of needs not being met. Something is happening, and you need to realize, I don't care how idyllic and how amazing your relationship has been up until this point, anything can happen at any point.
Regardless of how DS your relationship is, life is going to happen,
and you're gonna have to adjust
some extent, way or form, and yes, you're gonna have to adjust. It's never life in and of itself. Even if you're not DS, it's not smooth sailing.
No.
Okay. Caca happens.
Caca happens. That needs to be a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
I think it's really shit happens, but caca is probably better.
But I think on the whole, when you have the DS in the mix, it gives you something to come back to.
It can give you something to bring back. I think you have to be mindful, okay?
Yeah.
So submissives out there, when you're taking care of your dominant who's in the middle of whatever personal craziness they're going through, stick with your rules, stick with your tasks, stick with the things that you know you're supposed to do. One, because it will help you when you're not feeling very submissive. And I promise you, during the 14 months we dealt with his sister's illness, there were a lot of times I did not feel very submissive. I mean, there are a lot of times that I would actually go back to old vanilla ways, and I'm kind of a bitch in the vanilla world, and I'd forget myself. But the tasks kept me grounded.
And see, there's the other side of that coin. When life begins to affect the submissive, and they're not feeling very submissive, then, you know, as a dominant, you know, it's kind of like, I'm going to say it, dealing with kids sometimes. You need to maintain, and I mean, you don't need to go all like, what was the name you used? Domly Dom?
Domly Dom.
Okay, yes. You don't need to go all
trademark that.
Yeah, you don't go all Domly. You don't go all Domly Dom. No. But you keep the structure. You enforce the structure.
And I think we need to make sure, because there are a lot of couples out there I know that are listening. Sometimes you're going to go through shit together. Okay. Quite frankly, yeah, his sister's death was happening to him, but I was in the middle of that storm a few times too. Okay. Yeah. So what will keep you both grounded together is maintaining the structure as much as you can. Right. You're not going to get the kinky fuckery. You're not going to get to add anything new.
Whether it's an illness, whether it's somebody in the family that's ill, whether it's you that's dealing with an illness, stress at a job loss, you know, car breaking down, anything
that causes you major stress. Something with your kids
can cause stress. When you have DS, keep that structure. It can keep you focused. It is the port in the storm.
And I will tell you, even when you're doing that, it's not going to be whatever your level of DS is now, okay? Whether you're 24/7 or you're kind of like, okay, every evening once the kids go to bed, yay, we're DS. Yeah. Whatever your level is, it will drop dramatically.
Yes.
Whether one of you's going through something or you're going through it together. And that's not okay because it sucks, but it's normal, okay? But if you have specific things you do because that's what you were told to do or that's what you agreed to do, from one submissive to the rest of y'all out there, keep doing them to the best of your ability. The only thing that should stop you is literally you know, something gets in your way. If you can keep to that and not take advantage of the fact that, oh, he's not paying attention or she's not paying attention, I can do what the hell I want.
Right.
Because guess what? We all know, most of us out there, when we don't do a rule, it's because we're waiting for the reaction. Whether we think it'll be punishment or we want more structure or we want them to go all dom on us.
Right.
It's not going to happen. If you're going through, one of you is going through hell, you're going to miss a task. Guess what? They're not even going to notice. Okay. They're going to be off like dealing with something else. So stick with your structure and it will help you keep that submissive frame of mind. Right. And stick with your structure and it will help your dominant remember who and what they are, even when they're not really feeling it. Even when, I mean, poor baby, do you want water or Gatorade? And I thought his head was going to explode. And it took me probably 2 or 3 times.
It was just one more decision.
Right, and it was on a day when he maybe had taken his sister to chemo, or he'd gone to a doctor's appointment, or he dealt with, you know, one of his crazy family members.
Or another PET scan, or another blood test, or, you know.
And it took me a while, okay? I didn't figure this out the first time around. I was very frustrated until I figured out, okay, that's a trigger. That's the way I can test. I ask him a simple question that he needs to make a decision on, and if his eyes get wide and his face gets red because his blood pressure just went through the roof, I backed off, and I did what I needed to do, and I took care of him, but I didn't ask him to lead in anything until the next time I asked that question, and his eyes did not bug out of his head. So just remember that, and life will do that, and your needs, your kinky DS needs might not get met. It doesn't mean it's forever. But I want to transition to the other side, because
let's go.
Here, one, because it's really hot in this closet, y'all, and we love you, but I don't want to melt just so I can make the episode. And I will get naked, but then none of y'all want to hear the noises that are going to come after that. We could be that kind of show, and maybe another time we will be, but today, hey, I was thinking of moaning noises. Like orgasmic noises. Orgasmic noises would be really nice, but that's not what y'all are here for today. Anyway, so let's go to the other side of your needs not being met. And I think this is just as common when you're in a relationship, and what I've noticed is it's usually a relationship where you don't live together, you might not even be in the same city, you have to depend on text messages and phone calls and Skype, and not even necessarily like really long distance, just you're not married to one another, you're not living with one another. And I bet it does happen when you're living with one another. Sometimes you're just in a shitty relationship. But I'm going to take the submissive's side, even though I have no doubt this happens on the dominant side just as often. So you're in your relationship with your dom. You're a sub. Yeah, you're doing everything you think you can, and you want more. And one of two things is going to happen. You're either not going to say anything, expect your dominant to be a mind reader, and then you're going to email somebody like me, and not always me, and you are more than welcome to email me, but you're going to email somebody like me and go, how do I fix this? And my first thing is going to be, have you talked to your dominant? That is always the first step. Do not email a stranger for advice until after you've had the conversation with the person you're in a relationship with. Now, once you've had that conversation and you're still like, I don't know, you can always email me. You can email me before you have the conversation, but you know what my answer is going to be? Have the conversation. You have to talk to one another. So if your needs aren't being met, maybe you want it to be rougher, maybe you want more rules, maybe whatever your thing is, your first step is always to talk. Always to talk to your dominant. But what it seems to be, I know it's not becoming more common, I'm just hearing about it more often, is that you're doing that. You're having that conversation, and you're hearing things like, well, I'm only going to give you this much, and I'm not giving you any more. And you're going to have to learn to be happy with that.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, and help me out here, because I can never remember this, but it is so apt. A submissive wants to be needed.
Yes, and a dominant needs to be
wanted.
I think that's how that goes. Y'all can correct us, too, if we've got that wrong.
And that is absolutely true. So, that being said, and I'm going to play the devil's advocate here a little bit. Oh,
goodness. He always makes my blood pressure go up when he plays devil's advocate, because I forget that he's not really being serious.
Let's face it, in a DS relationship, everybody has their needs. Okay, dominant has what's important to him, submissive has what is important to them. If you're in a relationship and, your needs aren't being met, I think what you really need to do at some point, yes, have the conversation, try to negotiate,
Right, find a middle ground.
Find a middle ground somewhere.
Submissives, let me remind you, you're not supposed to always get every single thing you ask for. That's not how it works.
But yet, on the other hand, DS is about growth.
Yes.
Not just the submissive, the dominant as well. Okay? And, you push limits, you extend boundaries within limits, obviously. But, you at some point, or even before you get into a relationship, as a submissive, you need to sit down and say to yourself, what is important to me? As a submissive, what are the things that are important
that I have to have?
Okay? As a dominant, the same thing. You need to say, what are the things not almost, and I don't want to say non-negotiable. That's not the correct term, but
kind of the deal breakers. Deal breakers,
so to speak.
And if you sit and do this, realize that when you meet a person, you will shift and change a little bit.
Right.
Okay? When they're the right person for you, they might not fit your must-have column 100%. Maybe they fill it 95%, and that 95% is so good you don't even miss the other 5%. But I would say that is a good idea. Sometimes, though, not even 5% of your needs are being met.
Yeah.
And that's where we have a problem. Now, sometimes it's because, and I'm talking to submissives here, so don't worry, I'm going to say this, but no, I have love for the good dominants out there in the world. Sometimes it's because you've got a douchey dom, okay? You've got somebody who is there to have their needs met and their itches scratched, and they don't really care about you, okay? And if I know in my heart of heart that when you look in your heart of hearts, you know when you're with that one, okay? and it's either sub frenzy, or if it's a fear of being alone, or it's a fear you're never going to find another dom, or whatever it is that keeps you there. When you know when you're dealing with a douche, okay? When you're dealing with a douche, you need to kick that person to the curb and just be single until you meet the right one. Now, sometimes it's not that they're a douche. It's that they don't know, that they're still learning about this, that they maybe aren't, and I know this is true for some people that I have met online in the lifestyle, you're committed to this sub thing 150%, and they are committed to it like 70%. Okay? And so they're not consistent, or they forget. Or you say, hey, can we try this? Would you be okay with this? And they say yes, and then it never happens, and you're being the submissive you're supposed to be, and you're waiting for them to decide. And that's where you, in my opinion, as a submissive, and we'll talk about doms, don't worry, doms out there, we'll talk about it in a second. As a submissive, you've got some decisions that you're going to need to make. And I'm not advocating that you dump your dominant, that you break it off, that you divorce them, that you go back to vanilla. I'm not advocating that at all, okay? Sometimes that's the answer, though. The person that emailed me and said, okay, here's all this, and here's what I've done, and here's how it's making me feel. I try to be very cautious when I give somebody my opinion, because I know I don't have all the information. And it's very rare that I'm like, girl, you better run. Okay, that's not my style. And so I hesitated to tell her, okay, you might need to tell this one they got to go, okay? Because based on what she was telling me, the things she was asking for were not these major things. She was not asking for him to start a brand new fetish. She was not asking for him to, let her sleep with other people. She wasn't, she was asking for, can you add another rule? Can I get a little more of this? It seemed very sort of, I'm not asking for the world, I'm just asking for a little bit. And God love you, doms, and most of you really do get this, but some of you I don't think get it. Submissives have our own needs, and we are allowed to say to you, I feel like I need this, okay? You, as the dominant, get to say no, and all of us submissives out there, we need to realize when we go to our dominant, sometimes they're going to say no, but I don't think the default answer in any DS relationship should be no, okay? If it goes against your personal limits, of course it's a no.
Right.
If it's something that you physically cannot do, of course it's a no. If it's something that you emotionally cannot handle, it's a no. But when it's a no, I think, personally, I'll let Daddy tell me if I'm wrong, I think you owe your submissive an answer. You owe them the honest truth about why you're telling them no. And if you can't tell them no with an honest answer, then either what are you doing there, or try it, okay?
Yeah.
Bend a little bit.
A lot of times when Kayla will come to me with something,
and I come to him with lots of somethings. I'm full of ideas.
She's full of somethings.
That's one word for it.
Yeah. Yep. There's a lot.
He just patted me on the head, y'all. One of these days we should do videos so people can see. No, you'd have to see us in this closet sweating our asses off. I have boob sweat, y'all. Anyway.
Sweaty balls.
Almost sweaty boobs. So anyway, I come to you with all my ideas.
Anyway, you come to me with things, and a lot of times I will not give her an answer immediately.
Very true.
I will tell her, all right, especially on a DS side, I will say, all right, well, I'll take it into consideration.
Absolutely, and that is my cue to leave it alone. I leave it alone. This is what works for us. You'll have to figure it out for yourselves in your relationship. I leave it alone for a week. If he has not said another word to me about it for a week, I go, and it's about respect, and it's about being delicate, it's about, quite frankly, submissives not being pushy people. I'll say something like, have you given any more thought to whatever it was? And if I haven't heard from him within a week, what the response I usually get is, can I have another day or two?
Another one of those examples sometimes when life gets in the way.
Right, life gets in the way. But sometimes he'll say, yes, I have, and we will talk about it at such and such a time. Okay. Right. But the key is the communication's always there. I do not nag. I do not follow after him. It's going to be a no automatically if I start nagging.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you hear him? Do y'all hear this? Exactly. So when your needs aren't being met, it's, I think it's there's so many layers to this. We could probably have a whole other show on this. You have a responsibility as a submissive. You have to say something. When you say something, you need to be respectful. You need to be submissive. You need, however your relationship works well, that's what you need to flow with. Don't be afraid to remind them. If it's got several days and they haven't said anything, gentle reminders, it's not a bad thing. Now,
sir, have you
thought about
this more?
Are we ready to talk about this? You need to, and you certainly have every right to, you need to watch their reaction, okay? Especially if this is somebody who's new to you and this isn't a long-term loving thing yet, you're trying to get it there. If they are, how do I want to put it? If they sort of dismiss your ideas and they dismiss what you say out of hand and they give you platitudes like, yeah, I'll think about it, and then you never hear anything from them again about it, and you follow up respectfully, and you're still getting the brush off, that's a problem, okay? And only you know your partner, only you know, okay, this person was vanilla last Friday, and I got him to say, yeah, they'd try and be my dom, okay? I mean, you do need to cut that person a little bit of slack. They have, they have a ways to go. Or maybe you met them and you've been dating a couple months, and it's been okay, but it's not been great, and now this is just not going, Every situation is going to be different and unique. And sometimes, y'all, it's going to be they're stressed out about something at work and their mind's not into the DS mode with you. You're not in the same place right at that moment. So you're going to have to think very critically and very hard about the reactions you're getting and what you're seeing and what's going on in both your lives. Right. And sometimes, y'all, when your needs aren't being met, you need to walk away. Okay? Whether it's you walk away from the DS aspect of your life, or whether you tell that particular dom, okay, it's been really nice knowing you, I'm gonna move on. As a submissive, you have every right to end the relationship. It's about consent, y'all. I haven't said that word in a while, but it's about consent.
Yeah. And from my aspect, to give a good example, when Kayla and I first met and we started talking, she's a spanko.
No, spanko.
Total spanko. And that to me that to me is something very high on my list.
It was a huge surprise to me, though, y'all. I'll just tell you that.
And for me, to meet somebody who doesn't feel as enthusiastic about it, yeah.
It's got to be hard. And, that's the thing we were talking about, Daddy was talking about earlier with making your list of these are the things I have to have. You have your list. And if you are fortunate enough to enter into a relationship with somebody whose list matches your list, like 100% on each side, that's great. But, y'all, I don't think that's very common. I think 90%, and there might be a little variation.
And then on the other side of that coin, I have always been interested and loved Ropework. And in the beginning, Kayla was very...
Oh, it's not.
She was like, don't come near me with a rope.
Leave that rope shit in the closet.
And for me, that was not a deal breaker. Okay? Not in the least little bit. But over time, as our relationship evolved, she kind of opened up to the idea.
I was willing to try new things, and I think that's another thing you need to consider. It's one thing if the person you're talking to is into every extreme that scares the hell out of you and is your hard limit. You're like, hell no, you're not doing that to me. You might be incompatible there. It's another thing if you're both into DS and you're both into, let's say, flogging, but one of you really loves, anal, and the other one of you really loves something else. Right. And you don't quite match up. You might meet in the middle at some point. You might be willing to try something later.
And then there's a whole another aspect to it. And I have seen this, over the years that I've been in the lifestyle and going to munches and different things in the area. Oh my gosh. And it kind of took me by pause because with the anniversary of the club a few weeks ago.
I know, we missed the 10th anniversary of our local club. It's very sad.
But that made me realize, I've been in the local community for almost 10, 12 years now. Wow.
I know.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Or you're getting old, one of the two. I might pay for that later. I might pay for that later.
You better stop while you're ahead.
Oops, sorry. That was the baby girl coming out, y'all.
Yeah. But, you know, there are a lot of different iterations in DS relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you may be a couple,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and you have a wonderful relationship, all right, but you're a dom who loves canes. You love caning somebody and leaving those deep red welts on their ass and
a
thighs.
yucky shiver. Oh,
okay, yeah, she's
not I will take the cane, but I don't like the cane.
Yeah, not in extreme.
No.
Okay.
Not really at all.
But you know, you may be in a DS relationship where, you know, as a dominant, you love the cane. You're submissive. You have a wonderful relationship with your sub, with the exception of that one aspect. Okay, and I have seen DS relationships through the years where, okay, she doesn't like to be caned, but if you want to negotiate a scene at the club,
right, with somebody else,
with someone who wants to be caned to that extreme, and that fulfills your needs,
right, and as long as
you know, enjoy,
and that works because both parties have talked about that
right.
dominant doing that.
Yes,
it's not hidden. It's not dishonest. It's not that he's dominating somebody else. That person is topping somebody else.
Right.
Okay? It is a scene, and they are not in a committed relationship, and they're not going to walk out of there, ideally, they're not going to walk out of there and have anything else going on. It was that moment in time. They both got their individual needs met with one another. That person is still your dominant, is coming home with you. Okay? Right. If you have a comfort level that allows that, then you can do that. Mm-hmm. That way everybody's needs get met, even if it's not with one another. For the 10th anniversary of the club, I could not go. I got sick. Like, oh my God, awful sick. And up to the moment I got sick.
Watch my coffee.
Oh yeah, I almost spilled this coffee. You know, priorities. Up until the moment I got sick. Yeah, here's another example of needs not being met. Up until the moment I got sick, I'd been actively searching for a babysitter. We were having babysitter issues because we were gonna go. We were, we weren't gonna get to go to the munch. We were just gonna do the club. I like to do the munch because I get French fries out of the deal. And it wasn't gonna happen. I was too sick. Couldn't get off the couch. It wasn't happening. And I could see the disappointment in his face. We have not been to the club in ages. Right. So I told him. I said, go ahead and go. The boys are self-sufficient enough. I'm not so awful that I can't, vaguely make sure they're still breathing, so you go and I'll just lay on the couch and you come back and tell me. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, of course I'm sure. It's the club. And then I added something that I would not normally have done, and it made my stomach kind of go fluttery, but it felt important to me. I said, look, you have not had the opportunity to flog, beat, or otherwise, inflict pain on anybody in weeks now. Or the months. Okay, I've been reminded months. Weeks sounded better. I said, if you see somebody that you know and you trust, that, a submissive or a bottom that y'all want to negotiate something, I said, the only thing I care about is you tell me about it before so I know it's going to happen, and then you give me all the details later. Because I'm 1, nosy, 2, a sex blogger, and 3, an erotic author. Of course I want those details. But I'm also a very possessive woman. That's my nature. My nature is it was not until I met Daddy that I could let go of my jealous side. Green with envy, emerald with envy. I mean, I have that side to me, and I'm not insecure with him at all or in our relationship. So the jealousy part has totally died down. But just as he calls me his, he says, you're mine. He is mine. Okay. And if I'm going to allow don't take this the wrong way, my toy out to play, and I don't mean that in a DS sense at all, then I want to know how well and what it's doing and how it's being played. You know what I mean? So I told him that. I said, look, I don't know who's going to be at the club. We have some good friends in the lifestyle people he's known for years. I trust them. I know they wouldn't be making a play for him. If he wants to relieve a little stress, he hasn't had those needs met in, as he just reminded me, months, go for it. Now, his eyebrows went up to the root of his hair, top of his temple, because I couldn't believe I said it, and I meant it, even though my tummy was very fluttery. He did not take me up on it, but I did that because I knew he had a need that hadn't been met. Now, I also know that it's a need we both share, and we get more out of it when it is with each other. Right. I mean, that's part of the need that has to be addressed. But that takes a lot of trust, y'all. That takes a very deep relationship to be able to say, I love you more than life itself. You are, my partner in everything, but here I understand that you have a need I cannot meet. So with my blessing under these circumstances that we are negotiating, you may go have that need met without me. That is a completely legitimate thing to do. That we know, and they're not together anymore, but we do know one kinky couple, they're both dominants. Right. So I'm sure Day knows more of the details of how their relationship with one another, their marriage with one another worked, but because they were both identified as dominants, they each had their own submissives / slaves. I can't remember.
Slaves.
Okay, slaves. So they were, up until a certain point, they were still married. They had their relationship, and then because they couldn't fulfill each other's DS needs, because they both identified as dominant, they gave each other permission to go find outside partners to fulfill those needs. Now, their relationship didn't work out. I don't know all the details. I'm not going to speculate that it's because of that, because they were like that for years.
So it
worked for years.
I don't really know the details.
None of my business.
I'm
nosy, but not that nosy.
I've known them both for years. I like them both. Wonderful
good people. Good people. But that's the thing.
It was very sad to hear when that. I heard that. But
But that's the thing. What if you're married and you both have an interesting kink, and you explore your kinky side and you explore DS, and you both realize, holy shit, we're both submissive. Okay, that's gonna make it hard in the bedroom. I'm telling you that as a submissive. Okay, but it's okay if you both have a comfort level with it. Right. To allow yourselves to meet your needs elsewhere. But it comes down to the basics of everything BDSM and DS. Communication, consent, trust, honesty. Okay? So, when it comes to your needs not being met because you're not compatible or the other person doesn't want to, you have a lot of things to think about. You have a lot of decisions to make. Sometimes that decision will be, get the hell out of that relationship. You're dealing with a douche. And that goes on both sides. And we haven't even talked about a dominance needs not being met. Not specifically, but it really does work both ways. And as a dominant, I would say the same thing. If you're looking at the submissive and you're suggesting, okay, can we try this? I'd like to try this. I'd like to this. And everything is, no, or there's safe wording left and right. And it's not because there's some emotional thing holding them back, that you need to deal with. You might not be compatible, and at that point, if you're not compatible with your needs, you have to decide what to do. Right. Or if you've asked for your needs to be met and you're being refused, you have to decide what to do. And sometimes what you need to do is get the hell out of that relationship. And sometimes what you need to do is to renegotiate and find a way, a middle ground that works for you.
Believe it or not, our DS relationship is not set in stone. No. Okay.
When I pricked my finger, there was blood. Was that something else?
That was something else.
We were doing something else that was kinky?
Oh,
yeah, damn. Yeah. I thought it was set in stone.
No. But, when we first met, we were long distance. Mm-hmm. And our relationship was X. Right. Okay. Then we came together. Mm-hmm. And our relationship became Y.
And now we've been living together for almost 2 years. Yeah. And I would say our relationship is Z at this point. We're running out of alphabet, y'all.
But the point I'm trying to make is, it's not the same as it was when we first met. No. And to this day, it's still changing.
All the time.
There were task protocols, different things that we had in place when we were long distance. Okay, which absolutely, now that we're together, do not work anymore.
Right. It makes sense.
It would not make sense. So those have now been put to the side, and at that point, 2 years ago, there were new things put in place. Okay, then a year down the road from that, well, this isn't working out for, how is this working for you? Is this,
because we talk about it,
right?
And that's the thing, Daddy's really good when we hit sort of like that 1 year anniversary too. Every year that sort of marks, it's been another year. He makes a point of sitting down and saying, okay, let's talk about things.
We will go out, and
away from kids, away from distractions,
away from the house,
all that.
away from any distractions of day to day, and it's just her and I, and we kind of sit down and kind of take stock of our DS relationship and just our relationship on a whole, of where we're going and how we're getting there.
But you don't have to wait for those special moments,
no.
Okay? And I don't care which side, big D, little S, when something's not working, you need to say something.
Right.
Now, how you approach that topic depends on who you are, big D or little s.
Right.
But
and again, for us, it's about it. It's pretty much kind of a yearly thing. For you, maybe for you, maybe for someone else, 6 months.
And yeah,
it's because a year works for us. That's not set in stone for everybody.
And I would imagine that the longer you've been in your DS relationship, the more time can go between that. But you want to know why? It's because what's happening every day in and day out, we're communicating. And one of us is saying, that worked, this didn't work, I'm feeling this. I, as a submissive, and I would never say all submissives, do X, Y, or Z. But as a submissive, I do sometimes find it difficult to say what I need, okay? And we have not really talked about that, and I don't want to gloss over that. So it is sometimes damn hard to say, Daddy, I need this, okay?
Use your words, baby.
Right, yeah, use my words. And then I, blush, and I hide under the pillow, and we spend 10 minutes of him, giving me the look, and eventually I, blurt it out very awkwardly.
And sometimes speaking the words for a submissive is difficult, but there's other ways of getting around that.
I write them down when I need
to. For a while there, I had you keep a journal. A private journal only I could see, and that way I could look in there every so often and see what was going on with you. Send it in a text, send it in an email.
Oh yeah, I've done late night emails where
you have.
Fingers flying across the keyboard, and I got it all out of my head, and then I could edit it so I didn't sound like a crazy person, and then I hit send, and then of course comes the wait.
It's hard for a crazy person not to sound like a crazy person.
Oh, whatever. I make crazy look good, so it's okay. But your needs, sometimes it's big things and sometimes it's little. As a spanko, I need spankings for different things. Sometimes it's pure pleasure. Sometimes it's the pain is, I just need a little bit of pain. And sometimes I need a therapy spanking. I need to be spanked until I cry or I have an extreme emotional reaction.
Yes.
But asking for it is almost impossible. We developed a code. If I tell him that my skin feels too tight, because that's what it feels like when I get to that point, he knows, oh, she needs a spanking. This is her way of asking for a spanking.
I mean, a lot of times, I've become perceptive enough that I can kind of see by her actions.
But sometimes his life, what's going on with him is just crazy, and he doesn't see it.
I have a very stressful job, and, sometimes, my perception is not always 100%.
So it's my responsibility to let him know, but we also work within the confines of what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes, yes, I'm capable of speaking. We've been talking for an hour now, but it is still difficult. And I don't want anybody to feel bad out there if you find it difficult to say, this is what I need. And I don't think that any dominant should feel bad if they struggle with the same thing, especially if you're new to dominance, and if you've been taught your whole life that you don't do those things to other people, you don't treat other people that way, and you're hearing from your partner, or you're hearing from people like us that, oh no, it's okay to say these words as long as everybody agrees, and it's okay to cause pain, or it's okay to pull hair, it's okay, whatever it may be, okay? You may still find it hard to say, I need this. So it doesn't always come out that blatant. Sometimes you're having a conversation and one of you, big D, little s, it doesn't matter, says, I've been thinking this might be interesting. And really what you mean is, I want to try this more than I want my next breath. Okay. Please, 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 can we try this? But you're not at a point yet where you feel comfortable saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a point now where if what I quote need is really a want, like I read some kinky fuckery thing and I'm like, ooh, I want to try that. I'm blatant now. Daddy, I really want to try this. Can we do this? Can we try this? But when it's a need that I know will help me, but I feel like I shouldn't have that need, and don't tell me out there that some of y'all don't have that feeling sometimes. Whether it's a spanking or you need for something extreme, you need to be tied up, you need to have orgasms forced, you need whatever your need is, okay? You need to be called ugly, mean names because you've got a slight humiliation fetish, whatever your thing is. There are some of them that you don't feel like you should need, so it's harder to say. Find code words. Find a method. Type it out. Somebody emailed me a few weeks ago and they said, how do I explain this to my partner? And I said, have you tried writing it down? And to them, that was a new option they never considered before. I'm telling you right now, if you can hear the sound of my voice, I don't care if you are submissive or dominant. If you find speaking the words difficult, write it down. Nobody's grading you. Nobody's going to care about your grammar. This is just a matter of expressing yourself. Okay.
New dominants out there. This is something that is a very helpful thing. Not every submissive is like that, but I have noticed over the years, many submissives have problems putting things into words. An online journal, a written journal, is a wonderful thing. Okay, it is a wonderful thing to help them get out what is in their head, and for you to gain a better understanding of them.
Yeah, but I still think that a dominant. Now I know there's this sort of myth out there that dominants are always calm, cool, collected, strong. They can take on anything. Yes, I know you're already like that, don't worry, Daddy. But I would imagine there are times you're like, maybe not you, but other dominants out there are like, fuck, I don't know what the hell. I'm lost. I'm confused. You know what? It is not weakness, in my opinion. It is not weakness to share that with your submissive. It's not, okay? You're human, and you might not even realize just how strong your submissive is and just how much we not only can help you, but are desperate to help you.
Right. And let me say something. Yes, as Kayla's daddy, I am her a protector, her nurturer, as her dom. I am the one. She has given me control in the relationship, and I lead. But you know what? There are things. Some of you might want to cover your ears, and you probably won't believe this. But I'm not good at everything.
What? Say what?
Okay, and Kayla, she has
I have a lot of things, but I think he might be thinking of the word talents or abilities.
Right.
But I have lots of things.
She brings a lot to the table.
Aww.
And there are times I will go to her and say, I need your input about this. I need to know what you think about this.
I love it when he does that.
And I'm going to listen to what she has to say. I'm going to take it into advisement. I'm going to consider it, think about it.
And he's going to do what the hell he wants to do.
Yeah.
But it will be a better informed decision because he got the insight I can give him. That's dominance. What you may need that
for example, when I decided that renting was not for us and we were going to look for a house to buy. Mm-hmm. Okay. She knows things about.
I know enough about real estate to be really dangerous.
Yes, she does. So, damn straight. I went to her and I said, okay, this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
And after finding a real estate agent and, sitting down, I was like, after we first met with her, as soon as we were in the car, I was like, what do you think?
Mm-hmm. And we did make sure to find a kinky real estate agent.
Yes, we did. We did. That was very helpful. She understood our need for a split plan.
Yeah, don't put the boys' bedroom right next to our bedroom.
Yeah, no.
But, that's the thing. I have talents and abilities and strengths he does not have. So he relies on me, and it is not a weakness to say, I need you for this. We talk about needs, and everybody thinks sex. Everybody thinks kinks. And that has been a big portion of what we've talked about today.
Right.
But
it goes deeper than that.
It goes much deeper than that, y'all.
It covers all aspects of the relationship.
And from a submissive standpoint, when my dominant says he needs me, first of all, I don't consider it a weakness. I don't consider it a problem. In the vanilla side of things, I'm a type A OCD control freak. I actually enjoy... Daddy. As much as I don't want to be in charge of everything, and I certainly don't want to lead this relationship, I like having certain things that I control because I'm good at those things. And damn it, I'm going to do it right, and somebody else is going to do it wrong, and let's just do it right the first damn time. So when he comes to me and says, hey baby girl, I got this thing and you know about it and I don't, I'm going to put you in charge. I know, first of all, that ultimately he is the decider, capital T, capital D, the decider. But I'm in charge of it. It is my job to get him the best information. It is my job to do the research. It's my job to bring him all the good information so that he can make the best decision possible. That's a cool thing, y'all.
Yep, and that's a way of her as a submissive serving.
Yes. I get to, for 5 whole minutes, look like I'm in charge of something. And I kind of like it. Because you want to know what I like about it? I am in charge of something for 5 whole minutes, and then I hand that fucking control right on back.
Right back.
Here you go, Daddy. I'm done with it. So, I don't know if we have muddied the waters, or if we have clearly expressed anything. Like everything else in DS, BDSM, kink, whatever term you like to use for it, there are very few absolutes. Okay, I think that is ultimately the point. When your needs aren't being met, and they can be any need you can imagine, kink, fetish, just I really like this kind of creamer in my coffee. Could you make sure it happens? Whatever the need is, only you can decide how you're going to handle it. Right. But the first step is always actually talking to your partner about it and expressing the need to your partner. And then going from there.
Absolutely. It comes down to all that, and even if it's a vanilla relationship, you can be in a vanilla relationship and your needs aren't being met. But yeah, it comes down to trust. It comes down to communication. Okay? And it has to be two-way communication.
Absolutely. You cannot just talk at your partner and not listen to them. Okay? And I have an idea in mind. I don't know when we're going to be able to do it, and I have a feeling it's going to be a much longer episode. I do want to do an episode on giving you ideas and tricks and things to keep in mind on how to better communicate, because I really think that that's a lot of the times that's the problem. It's not that the other person's trying to be an asshole, it's that they do not know how to communicate. And if you don't know how, you're probably going to get it wrong a lot before you get it right. So we are going to talk about that in a future episode. It's very important to me on a lot of levels, and I want to help you guys, but ultimately it always comes back to that. It always comes down to communication. And you have to, the problem with the communication is, and I'm gonna totally jack up this quote, but it has always stuck with me, and I try to be very mindful of it myself. We do not listen to hear what the other person is saying. We listen with the intent to respond. So while somebody's talking to you, you're already thinking of what your response is going to be. How much of what they're saying do you really think you're hearing and processing if all you're thinking about is what your response is going to be?
It's not about the nail.
You lost me, Daddy. There's a whole story there, and I remember it, but I don't remember it. But my point, somebody else will get it, I'm sure, and maybe they'll remind me. Oh, Kayla, do you remember? It's really about this. So when you communicate your needs to your partner, first of all, if you're the one having somebody come to you and say, hey, love of my life, keeper of my loins, whatever it may be. I have this need. First of all, you need to listen to them very intently. Actively listen to them. Lean forward. Kind of nod your head. Ask questions that show that you're listening, but maybe you want clarification. Repeat things back to them a little bit differently than the way they said it. That's active listening, okay? When they respond to you, you have shared your needs. You have poured your heart out. What you really need is the vanilla creamer, not the hazelnut, damn it. Okay?
Yep.
I know, I don't like hazelnut either. Now, when they respond to you, your job is to actively listen in return.
Right.
Okay? Not, they didn't immediately say yes and now you're like mentally fuming. So there's a lot that goes into it, but the very first thing is you have to actually communicate what your needs are.
You have to communicate your needs. You know, some things, you know, depending on what they are, you may not get that particular thing. Other things, you know, you may dive in with one another and it's wonderful. Other things, you know, there's maybe a compromise.
Right.
A middle ground.
And that's, we're talking, in that moment, we're talking about life is going along hunky-dory and you just have some needs you want to deal with. Let's go back to what we talked about originally. Sometimes life is going to totally, like, fuck things up. Oh my God, it's going to suck so bad. And one of you is not going to get their needs met. The other of you is not going to. Both of you are going to be in the situation together and you're just going to cling to one another and pray you survive the madness. That's okay. It's a matter of that, going through that can, if you let it, bring you closer together, so that when you come through it and you realize you have survived it,
you're even stronger. You're
stronger together, and you get to go through the process of fulfilling each other's needs sort of from fresh eyes and a fresh start, and that is hot. It's cathartic, but it's also like
but you know, there's different levels in all this, you know. Again, you know, life, caca, you know, illness, death, you know, those kind of things, everybody's different. It's going to take it. Everybody grieves in their own way. Everybody heals in their own way.
Everybody processes stress in their own way, just in general.
So, you know, it's going to take time for someone to bounce back from something like that.
And as the one who is on the outside and not going through it, you are going to have patience.
Yes.
Or you need to be honest with yourself and say, I cannot deal with this. It will hurt that other person if you walk away. I mean, it will hurt. But you know what? I honestly, truly believe it is better to be alone than in a bad relationship. And if I were going through the worst hell of my life, you know what? The person I don't want with me is the person who doesn't want to be there. Okay? So, and now I'm being given the clue that we have gone too long.
Yes.
I don't think we've gone too long, but hopefully you're actually still listening. I think somebody has to go to the bathroom. That's really what I think it is. I'm totally going to pay for that later, too. So we have...
I haven't had the big paddle out in a while.
We don't need to have the big paddle out. It's okay, Daddy. Yeah. So anyway, think about what your needs are. Think about the situation that you're in. Think about how you've communicated those needs. And then think about what you can live with and what you're willing to live with and how it all makes you feel. And at that point, all you can do is make the best decision for you.
And if you're looking to go into a relationship, think about what needs are important to you. Okay? Either, you know, as a submissive, as a dominant, what is important to you?
Right. And then realize that when you come across the perfect person for you, they might not be perfect. Nobody is perfect, but they might be the perfect person for you. They might not check every box on your list of needs, but you can, with the right person, you'll find a way to make it work.
Exactly.
And it will work out. Maybe in ways you never imagined possible, but it totally will. So, with all that being said, I guess it's time for us to sign off. I'm now being given a look.
Say goodnight, baby girl.
But I don't want to. I will say, though, keep it kinky, y'all, and we'll see you next week.